Craven County has never experienced such a senseless loss of innocent lives.
3 children are dead, along with their mother, after authorities say their father shot and killed them.
The call that led deputies to the home.
I have been trying to reach them. Neither one of them are answering. The car's in the driveway. Something's wrong.
Deputies find a horrific sight inside this Vanceboro home.
Tonight, the mother who lost her daughter and 3 grandchildren relives when deputies knocked on her door to tell her the tragic news.
And I said, "What about the babies?" And he said, "They're gone too." And I just lost it. I couldn't say anything. All I could do was cry.
Getting the facts right. This is WCTI News Channel 12 this morning.
Funeral arrangements are set for the mother and 3 kids who were killed last week. We'll tell you how they will be remembered.
And it's going to be an average January day for us here as far as temps are concerned, into the mid-50s.
With the census coming up, the Better Business Bureau is sending out a warning. We'll tell you what you need to look out for to keep your information safe from scammers. As the coronavirus spreads, concerns over travel rise. What you need to know if you're planning on traveling.
And we're going to be tracking another day of seasonal temperatures for us here in eastern North Carolina, starting off in the 30s and 40s this morning, returning back to the 50s.
A restaurant in the area pays tribute to the mother and her children who were killed. We hear from the store manager coming up.
I'm sorry, I told you allow people to speak who didn't have any facts.
There will be order in this courtroom.
Fierce debate one city had legalizing marijuana for medical and non-medical use. We'll tell you about the decision coming up.
And return to normal temperatures today. This is where we should be for this time of year, into the 50s, but we won't stay there long.
Looking for a creative way to show love to your Valentine this year? Well, I've got you covered. I'll tell you what you can do that's also helping out with a good cause.
The number of flu cases are increasing. We're going to hear from an East Carolina Medical Center employee on the reason why.
Well, and after one of the coldest starts of the season, we'll actually finish today warmer than we were the entire day yesterday.
Plus, the assistant principal from the same school as the school resource officer who slammed the student is now under fire. We're going to tell you why just ahead.
Want to say goodbye to 2019 and hello to 2020, but don't know where to go? We have you covered. We'll tell you where you can drop by to ring in the new year.
And we're going to be looking at an excellent end to 2019 with excellent New Year's Eve weather.
And New Year's Eve celebrations are happening all across eastern North Carolina, but police and one organization have a message for you.
Craven County has never experienced such a senseless loss of innocent lives.
3 children are dead, along with their mother, after authorities say their father shot and killed them.
The call that led deputies to the home.
I have been trying to reach them. Neither one of them are answering. The car's in the driveway. Something's wrong.
Deputies find a horrific sight inside this Vanceboro home.
Tonight, the mother who lost her daughter and 3 grandchildren relives when deputies knocked on her door to tell her the tragic news.
And I said, "What about the babies?" And he said, "They're gone too." And I just lost it. I couldn't say anything. All I could do was cry.
Well, it's being called one of the most horrific crimes in Craven County, a father murdering his wife and 3 small children before killing himself.
We have team coverage tonight on this murder-suicide in Vanceboro that's touching people all over eastern Carolina. We began with Tyler Harden. And Tyler, what happened inside the home?
Sheriff Hughes says that it was a senseless loss of innocent lives inside that Vanceboro home. He says that 39-year-old Michael J. Ireland killed his family and their dog before turning the gun on himself in the master bedroom. His wife, April, and children were found in the living room. Hughes says he murdered his wife, April Ireland, and their 3 small children, 8-month-old Caroline, 3-year-old Bryson, and 4-year-old Michael. We've learned deputies responded to the home on Kinsall Court Friday after a concerned family member called 911. Hughes says when they arrived, they could see a body through the window and proceeded to kick in the door. That's when they found all of the bodies. Sheriff Hughes says there was no sign of a struggle or a suicide note.
To my knowledge, Craven County has never experienced such a senseless loss of innocent lives in modern times. Officers with over 40 years of experience has described this as one of the most horrific crime scenes in their career.
Investigators are still waiting on the results of the autopsies. Hughes could not comment on Ireland's mental state. Now, because of how horrific this scene was, counselors have been brought in to help first responders. Hughes asked for prayers for the family as they continue to process what happened in Vanceboro. Now, I want to send it over to my colleague, Kate Hussey, who talked with family members today. Kate?
Tyler, I can tell you that April Ireland's mother is heartbroken. She spoke with me about that horrific day, and it was not easy for her to share. When Jackie Tripp woke up the morning of Friday, January 24th, she knew something wasn't right.
You know, the instinct a mother gets in the pit of her stomach. I had that.
But even a mother's intuition couldn't prepare her for what was about to be the worst day of her life. When Craven County deputies showed up at her door that afternoon.
The deputy said, "Are you the mother of April Tripp?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I hate to tell you this, but your daughter is deceased." And I started crying, and I said, "What about the babies?" And he said, "They're gone too."
4 of the most precious people in her life ripped away far too soon.
They were just too young to be killed.
Now Jackie is left with just the comfort of their memories.
My daughter was a brave, intelligent, beautiful person.
But those memories won't bring those babies back.
I wish she was here, but I can't bring her back.
Well, Jackie tells me that she still does not know why this happened, and she says she knows she might not ever know the answer to that question. In fact, it's a question that community members themselves are trying to come to terms with. Why? Our reporter Corey Johnson spoke with neighbors tonight who are wondering the same thing. Corey, what are they telling you?
Emotional is the best way to describe how people are feeling out here, and I've even heard the neighborhood described as eerie ever since this happened on Friday. Those in the neighborhood tell me that they saw the family frequently, saying they would often see Michael Ireland playing out front with Bryson and Michael on the street, and they also saw their play sets around back. Neighborhood member Carrie Truex says she lived on the street for 3 years and didn't know any of the family personally, but says she frequently saw the kids with their toys, and she says she feels their absence.
It's hard, and I didn't even personally know them, but if it doesn't touch your heart, you know, something's wrong with you, because it's a very sad day, very sad few days.
Truex says she saw the family just a few days prior to the incident. She also tells me that after this heartbreaking event, she'll be more vigilant in checking on her neighbors. I'm going to send this back to the studio now where we have more team coverage.
All right, Corey, and very, very emotional and difficult time for many people, family members, neighbors, other loved ones. Nate Belt uncovered more of Michael Ireland's backstory today.
Nate, what'd you find out today?
Well, yeah, actually doing a little digging today, we were able to find out that domestic disputes are not uncommon at the Ireland residence. I did get to speak one-on-one with Sheriff Chip Hughes today, who helped me obtain a few incident reports revealing deputies have been called out to the home multiple times. Now, between 2015 and 2017, there were 6 incident reports filed at the Ireland residence. In January 2015, Ireland was arrested for assault on a female and injury to personal property. In November 2015, in a case, somebody called 911 to report that it looked like Ireland had locked his wife outside and they were yelling at each other. Now, in January 2016, deputies were called in response to assault on a female, simple assault, and communicating a threat. He wasn't arrested at that time. Now, we were able to obtain Friday's 911 call made by a family member who was concerned after not hearing from the couple when they went to drop something off at the house. Let's take a listen to a bit of that.
And the dog's not barking, and when that doorbell rings, that dog barks, and he's not barking either.
As you can see on this screenshot, April Ireland set up a GoFundMe page back in August of 2019. Now, on the page, she said her husband was in the hospital with injuries that she says are, quote, self-inflicted, and he is very sick mentally, end quote. Now, earlier today, I did ask the sheriff if Ireland suffered from any mental illnesses. He wasn't able to confirm any of that. He wasn't sure about it. So the question as to why this happened, at this time, we may never know.
And so many questions. Also, the family's dogs was killed as well, the dog.
Yeah, absolutely. That was another thing that the sheriff mentioned to me as well. The dog was with the husband in the house. And well, I've known Sheriff Hughes for a long time. It's his 14 months in office now. Talking to him this morning was just clearly very shaken up about it. As you can tell, this is just a very hard case on everybody.
You know, like Carrie Truex, the neighbor, said, if you're not feeling this, there's something wrong. And we want our viewers to know we feel it, just like Sheriff Hughes did, all the neighbors and family members. This is an unbelievably sad time.
Thank you, Nate.
It really is. Thanks, Nate.
And within just the past few hours, community members have come out to the home and they're placing stuffed animals, flowers, cards, and books. Neighbors are saying that the deaths have broken the hearts of many, and we're seeing that around eastern North Carolina. People are having a hard time understanding how something like this could happen.
Now, to finish the story, you can follow us online on Facebook, on WCTI12.com, our website, for the very latest developing information.
This is a News Channel 12 Severe Weather Alert Day.
Now, this storm has caused some areas to lose power, and in anticipation of the storm, some school districts chose to cancel school or push back their start times. This morning, we have team coverage with the latest on what you need to know. Nick Solinopoli is live for us in Jacksonville, and Kate Hussey is in New Bern. We'll start with Kate. Kate, looks like the wind is picking up a bit out there.
It absolutely is, Alexis. In fact, all of you have been hearing Les talk about those heavy winds, and as you can see here behind me from those flags, they certainly are getting strong, but people still seem to be enjoying it out here at Union Point Park, I have to say. The temperature is quite nice, but we are feeling the winds. We're also learning that as the winds are picking up this morning, while we're not feeling the full brunt of it now, as Les mentioned, it will pick up mostly between 8 o'clock and 2 p.m. Already, flights across our state are starting to get delayed. Earlier this morning, I told you about how airports like Raleigh and Charlotte were experiencing very low numbers of flight delays, but now that the wind has picked up, many of the flights are getting delays. We're seeing moderate levels of flight delays, and even out of New Bern here, that we're actually already seeing at least one flight to Charlotte delayed. Now, speaking of power outages specifically, we actually looked into New Bern, and it appears that the city of New Bern all has power. We haven't seen yet, as of right now, any power lines down, not even a single traffic light out. However, I did report earlier this morning that those of you in Morehead City, about 48 of you were without power this morning. Duke Energy tells us that that power is now back on, but those of you out towards Cape Lookout, about 72 of you are without power. And if you're just joining us this morning, Duke Energy says that a typical power outage lasts about 3 hours, so in a couple of hours you should start to see your power come back on. But in terms of rain and flooding. You know, we've been showing you video of the heavy rains that we were experiencing even as early as 4 o'clock this morning. And as you can see here in Union Point Park, there really is no flooding, and we're not experiencing any rain at this point. You even saw some people running by enjoying the nice temperatures. And earlier this morning, I spoke to one woman named Phyllis from the New Bern area. She says she goes out for her morning walk in Union Point Park every single day, and she did not let the severe weather last night deter her. You're going to actually hear from her coming up at 6:30. We'll hear what she has to say, but for now, I'm going to send it over to my colleague, Nick Sinopoli. He's over in Jacksonville. Nick, what's the weather looking like over where you are?
Yeah, Kate, Molly Levine and I are holding down the fort here in Jacksonville, covering all of that inclement weather for you guys this morning. We woke up earlier this morning, saw some heavy rains and heavy winds. Right now, some gusts of wind down here in Onslow County, but as you can see behind me, people are out and about getting ready for their morning commutes. Molly and I just saw moments ago before coming on camera, some school buses were driving out to go pick up kids, and you can see traffic right now. It seems that everyone is bracing that weather right now. No wind or rain to report, but take a look at some of this video we took earlier this morning. We saw, a flag up here in the sky, an American flag, really whipping hard in the wind. Gusts of wind coming through here. Minimal to no flooding to report here in Onslow County, but we did speak to a woman at a gas station on Western Boulevard in Exxon. Her name was Erica. She told me that she experienced a power outage at her shop earlier this morning.
And it did it twice, so it went off and then came back on and then went back off, but I think that confused the computers a little bit, but other than that, not too long.
Yeah, Erica was a great interview. Had a lot, says a lot of people that have been coming in this morning saying that it hasn't been as bad as they thought it was going to be. How ambulance drivers came in earlier actually telling her the roads are fine. We can report right now that people are making their morning commutes. We called Duke Energy. Last time we spoke to them, they had 55 reported power outages. I just spoke to Jones Onslow earlier, saw some trucks of them driving on the road. I called them earlier. No outages to report for there, but for now, we're live in Jacksonville. Nick Sinopoli, News Channel 12. Back to you, Alexis.
Thank you, Nick. Well, a man had to be rescued in Alexander County after he got trapped by high water while on a four-wheeler. Family members are grateful rescuers reached him in time. The rain turned creeks into raging rivers, and the man who was rescued says he's very fortunate he wasn't hurt. Firefighters and rescuers scrambled to reach the man in the rising water along Heavenly Acres Lane south of Taylorsville. And you can check this out. Some people in Georgia were making the best out of the bad weather. This guy was having his friend pull him on a wakeboard behind his motorcycle through a flooded tunnel. I'm not sure how safe that is. Well, send us your pictures and video of any weather-related damage. If it's safe for you to do so, you click on the Chime In banner on our website, WCTI12.com. You can also track the storms throughout the day with the Storm Track 12 weather app. It's free on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
The 60s here east of I-95, stuck in the 40s and 50s with that cloud cover and colder temperatures further to the west.
Breaking news for you overnight. News Channel 12's Kate Hussey is at the scene of an apartment fire. Kate, what can you tell us so far?
Well, Alexis, I don't have too much information right now, but I do know that I am at the Hinton Arms apartment in Jacksonville.
Getting the facts right. This is WCTI News Channel 12 this morning.
Crews are working to put out a fire at an apartment complex in Jacksonville. I'll show you the scene and tell you what we know so far.
And we're going to be tracking some rain and some storms that are going to be coming through overnight tonight that could have some strong winds with them.
A successful procedure targeting brain tumors is first in North Carolina. We hear from Vita Medical Center doctor. But first, breaking news for us overnight. Right now, fire crews are working an active scene at an apartment complex in Onslow County. That's where we find News Channel 12's Kate Hussey live this morning. Kate, we see those crews working behind you. What can you tell us so far?
Crews are actively working at the scene of a fire in Jacksonville. I'll show you the scene and tell you what we know so far.
And get ready for a front to come through tonight with rain and maybe even some strong storms during the overnight hours. I'll alert you to the dangers ahead.
Today is the third and final day of opening statements for Democrats. We'll tell you what Democratic prosecutors argued during yesterday's statements. But first, we have developing news from Onslow County. Right now, fire crews are working an active scene at an apartment complex. About 800 people lost power due to the fire, but crews were able to get that number down to 400. Now, News Channel 12's Kate Hussey is live at the scene this morning. Now, Kate, I see a bit of smoke behind you, and crews, what can you tell us so far?